Hi, I'm Paige Davidson, the worship leader for Ignite. Thank you for joining me today as we look at 3 practical steps you can take to build a spirituality for the home. Last week we talked about God taking us together on a pilgrimage. This week, our pilgrimage life leads to joy because sacred rule number 2, our love for one another leads to joy. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that it takes work to cultivate and tend to love between people. So here's 3 ways you can grow the sort of love that will lead your family to joy. First, make a point to plan regular, consistent time with each member of your family. It could be a regularly scheduled breakfast, dinner, a date night, whatever. My friend Tony's been having lunch with his daughter once a month since she was in kindergarten, and she just turned 18 this year. Their lunches have been at different restaurants, at ball fields, and sometimes at home. They've involved laughing, crying, angry disputes, but over 13 years, lots of connection and growth. Having intentional time with your partner, your children and grandchildren and friends helps us to embrace the here and now at every stage of the journey together, so that you're not looking back 6 months down the road and regretting the time and experiences you missed out on. Second, offer up more words of love and appreciation on a daily basis. You can do this in a text, with a handwritten note, or, best of all, face-to-face. Build up that love by building up that awareness of how much you mean to each other. If you happen to know your partner or child or friend will experience your love in a more profound way through an act of service, or some physical affection, or a thoughtful gift, take that route whenever you can. And third, attend worship together. Actually, maybe I should rephrase that to just say worship together, because it's not about attendance. That's just a check mark. I'm talking about sharing the mental, emotional, and relational experience of worship. When I was a kid, my mom and I used to pass notes in big church. She'd draw a little sketch captioned with a headline from the sermon or scripture, and I would answer back in kind, back and forth. It was a delight decades later when I noticed the same kind of exchange between my mom and her granddaughter, my little niece, both of them passing an offering envelope back and forth as they filled it with pictures and captions. I asked my mom about it recently, and she gave me a little backstory that I never knew. Growing up in the 50s, proper church demeanor had been drilled into her and her 5 brothers. Sit up straight, eyes on the pastor, be quiet. No leaning your head on daddy's shoulder. That's not proper etiquette. When she couldn't help but act her age for a minute, she was inevitably overcome with the shame that she had been bad in church. Much later, as a young mother, she heard a Sunday school lesson that described life itself as worship. This revolutionized the way she parented us kids in church. She wanted to be sure her children didn't disturb others during the service, but we couldn't really stick with a message designed for adult sensibilities. So she chose instead to engage us on our level, repackaging the scripture or lesson in her silly sketches and taglines, and keeping us busy with our scribbling replies. She engaged with us so that our time in big church mattered. I'm grown now, but anytime I get to do church with my mom, we still surreptitiously pass notes. We can all worship God together anywhere, at any time. But those of us who choose to regularly attend church, in person or online, can use this time to build up our relationship with God and each other. And this leads to joy-filled connection. Parents and grandparents, look for opportunities to join in with your kids' classes as a volunteer once a month. They'll love to learn with you and from you. Maybe bring the children with you to the main worship service. Join in with the kids' pack or pass some notes. Adults, you can do this too yourselves. I promise you won't get detention. And if you're watching online together, post in the chat together, or take advantage of the fact that no one can shush you in your own home, and point out lyrics in a song or a lesson in the message you needed to hear. Or you can share all of this afterward if you prefer. The point is to share in the worship experience. I hope you'll find at least one of these ideas helpful as you take intentional steps this week to cultivate love that leads to joy.